Welcome to Dugout Chatter. We are going to see how America's pastime has shaped generations of young men and women into the determined people they are today.
Yeah, so where do you want to start with how baseball became a part of our family?
First thing I want to say, okay, I never thought in a million years I'd be sitting at a podcast, sitting across from you, and I love it. So
yeah, it's fun getting to do it.
Yeah, the way I started baseball in the family, obviously it was your brother Ryan that we all know started it.
Yeah, he started the obsession.
He started it, exactly. So your mother and I, we would go to the fields with him, and he started a little later. You guys always played neighborhood ball and stuff.
Broke plenty of windows.
Plenty of windows. Oh, yeah. That's when you used to be able to go to Home Depot and get a piece of glass, but those days are gone. So Ryan started playing. He was the oldest. And I remember you were little. You were in a car seat. As soon as you saw the lights, you'd start crying. So, that was, but now look at you. Mr. Baseball.
Yeah, I know. I'm not crying anymore. There's no crying in baseball.
No, not at all. You must have got it all out of your system then.
Yeah. In the early childhood years.
Yeah. So what led into me, the question I know is going to come, how did you get into coaching? My background was definitely not baseball. I did play a little league baseball, but I never played middle school or high school, that type of level of ball, just, neighborhood ball.
Yeah.
I was more into football and fishing and water skiing and stuff like that. And plus, I didn't have a ride at the baseball field. So,
yeah.
So as we started at the Lantana team. They're up in, it was called
the Lantana baseball
Yeah,
fields.
they were a Babe Ruth league. So Ryan started probably around 11, 12 years of age, and he got onto the team, and he played well. I mean, he was a starter. He was, up in the lineup, always played. And Ryan asked me one time, Dad, would you want to coach? And I said this. I said, if you make the All-Stars, then I will coach a team. I don't know why I said it, but that's what was said. So as time goes on, towards the end of the season, they go to the tryouts for the All-Star team. And this is when I first saw the beginning of politics
in baseball.
I mean, I've been in business. I've seen it there, but I never saw it to this, magnitude as I saw in this league. So he goes to a tryout. He did great at the tryout. I mean, along with the other, you could, I wasn't, a baseball player, but you could tell if somebody knows how to play.
Yeah.
So we saw this one kid. I definitely don't want to mention names. The ball was, they were in the outfield, so they were hitting pop flies to him. He couldn't catch one fucking ball. I mean, the ball came, hit his glove, probably 4 or 5 shots, and then on probably around the 6th or 7th try, he fell down. So we were like, okay, this kid's never going to make it. So when they came to pick the team for the All-Star, Ryan didn't make it. And here's a guy that played all season, that was a starter, was in the lineup. And this is where I found out, because the coach that he played under wasn't doing the All-Star team. It was a different coach. So, you always know the coach's son and his coach's sons are automatically in, which I understand that.
Yeah.
But where it threw me for a loop, I figure, because they normally carry 12 to 15 kids. And, there's 3 there. So, what do we got? 10 kids to pick. But what they started doing, friends of the kids, they would pick their friends. Some were good. Some deserved to be there, but some didn't, So Ryan obviously came home. He was upset. So that's when I decided, let me become a coach, next season. The season was over. So I never coached, but I did teach, in night school and stuff like that. So I was an instructor. So I figured, I could learn it, because one thing I was always worried about, I don't want to teach something incorrectly, especially at that age. If I don't know it, I'm not going to even attempt to explain it to somebody.
Yeah.
And I did that all through my, working career and stuff. So that led to there. So like, Dennis was the head president of the Lantana League. Very nice guy. So I figured I'd go as a coach under another coach, because that's mostly how coaches get in.
Yeah, assistant coach, learn from them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now I'm given as a manager. He says, we need managers. We don't need coaches. He says, you can pick your coaches. I said, Dennis, this is very new to me. I don't feel comfortable with it. He says, I'm going to give you a name of a coach. His name is Rob. And I said, great. He says, Rob's very good. He's been around the league. He just he didn't want to manage, but he's a good coach. So he gives me the number. So I call Coach Rob, ring the phone. Coach Rob picks up. I said, hey, Coach Rod, Dennis from the Lantana League gave me your number. He said you would be willing to coach with me. And his answer was, let me think about it. I was no words. I said, okay, thank you. So after I hung up, I went to Ryan. I said, Ryan, we're going to the bookstore. We're going to get, which I found those yellow books. It was Coaching for Dummies. so I went down and picked one up, which really Ryan knew the game, as you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan knew better than the instructor, or as far as the coaches, a lot of the coaches. And I figured once I get into the league, I'll learn from these other coaches. These coaches didn't know jack shit, I mean, I knew the fundamentals, to hit the ball, but all the rules was something totally new to me,
Yeah.
But rules you learn. It's like going to get a driving license. You study a book to learn how to drive. So I figured I'll learn how to be a coach. And actually that first year, Ryan worked me through it, like we'd be sitting there. He said, Dad, go tell that umpire over there, this and that. And I would. And the guy was like, yeah, you're right.
Made you look good.
Made me look good. So
for those of you listening, I have my dad, Ben Giffin, in studio. And like you were saying with daddy ball, did you see that at all in football? Was there any nepotism like that in football? Because I feel like there's a lot of it in baseball.
There is nepotism in everything, really.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it as much in football. I mean, because what would happen if somebody was, the team saw the guy had nepotism, they'd knock the living shit out of him. So.
So do you think baseball players are more delicate than football players?
I wouldn't say that. I mean,
or it might just be different generations.
Generations. Even if you put the same time period together, it's a different type. I mean, you got to remember in football, you have a guy that's always he's got gear on so you can hit each other. You got a baseball, that's a hard ball. That hurts when it hits you,
Yeah, it hurts when it hits you.
There's nothing dainty about baseball. So.
Yeah. So how was that learning curve going from one sport to another?
It wasn't bad. It really wasn't bad because I look where I started. We're talking about 22 years ago. And I wound up coaching every one of my four boys. I coached you.
Yeah.
I coached, obviously Ryan, Kieran, Braden, and then you, and I got something different out of each one of you. And then I wound up becoming the league president of the senior team because nobody wanted it. So I took it, and that was very rewarding. I've told you the story where we only had 8 players, and we're talking about the 18-year-old, it was the 18-year-old team up front, the big fields.
Yeah.
And they were basically guys that didn't make the high school teams. So I was coaching them. There was only 8 of them, not enough to put a team together. So I was looking for another coach. And in the meantime, I was running the practices, and then, whoever I was coaching at that time, which was Ryan, so 2 teams. And so we were very occupied. And I remember I told the group of kids that, the 8 were there one time. I said, I'm going to have to let the team go till I find a coach because I was just getting spread far and thin. And just one kid came over to me, which he always rode his bike there. He said, Coach, I really need this. And the sincerity, when I looked into his eyes, I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. So He did it. Next practice, he got hit by a car coming to practice, but thank God it was nothing too bad. He was, banged up a little bit, but I got a lot of reward out of that. It was, I learned there. And then far as you guys as I got more into it, which with the league, then from Ryan, I went to Kiernan, which we played in the same league. And then I went to you. We wound up playing in Wellington and
Yeah, we spent a lot of time out in Wellington.
Yeah.
Miles is there now.
Yeah. How we're starting over again.
No, I know. It's nice to start over and see that league's that's still a very popular league for, youth baseball.
It really is, yes.
Yeah, it's good to see. So what was something rewarding that you got to see out of coaching all of us?
Well, out of all of you all wound up playing upper level ball.
Yeah.
And I'll give you, here was one example that I'll never, ever forget. It was a Friday night. We were having a game, and I don't remember, it might have been Braden, or it was one of you, but it was you were 14 years old at this time. And one of the coaches says, "Hey, Ben." I says, "Yeah, coach." He says, "Look at this. We're here a Friday night spending time with our sons, and they're enjoying it, and they don't realize it."
Yeah.
Because at that point, there was this whole, I had friends of mine, they came Friday night, they had no idea where their kids were. So it definitely is great for family. I mean, for family, it draws you in for a family, because even your mom became a player agent. She was involved.
Yeah, Mom kept the books
A bunch
of our games.
And we'd always go get something to eat after the game, with the team. It was like one big family, and met a lot of great people.
Yeah, and well, even though Rob thought about it, I guess.
Oh yes,
going back to that.
Let me get back to Rob. So Rob did think about it, and he did say yes, and great coach.
Yeah, and I ended up growing up with Anthony.
With Anthony, we made a great friendship there. A lifetime friendship, and we got through, and we had some funny things. I remember one time, we in baseball, when you have, let's say you're a father coach, let the other coach your son.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. And that's what we always did, because they will listen to, they're not going to listen to dad, even though Ryan knew more than dad, but there was certain things, certain.
Because even now with Miles, Jessica's kind of telling me that she wants me to do lessons with Miles because he's not listening to Ryan as much as me.
Exactly.
He's a little stubborn when it comes to his dad.
And I think that's nature of the beast. I think that's it all.
That's just kids. Yeah,
exactly. So, and there's always been little certain things that, with each of you that experienced. I remember one time we did a tournament actually down here in Boca somewhere, and we went to a Taco Bell, and we all took the salt shaker and we were sprinkling it on our food, whatever, fried. No, it was Taco Bell, definitely. And we started chewing. It was gritty. Somebody had taken the salt out of the salt shaker and put sand in it, white sand. So to this day, we always discuss that. We always remember that. So.
Yeah, I remember when you were coaching me, and we were actually talking about this on one of Miles' last games, that one kid that we had, Jesse, on our team. Yeah, it's funny, some of the kids you run across. I just remember one game, I think I was catching, and he's in the outfield, and he's just like, "Coach," he's shaking his pants, "Coach, I have to poop."
Oh, yeah, he ran right in. So the umpire had to stop the game, so he could take a shit. Luckily, we substituted somebody else. But he was a great kid when he was on his meds. He'd say, "Hey, Coach, I'm going to hit you with the bat." But I knew Jesse didn't really mean it.
No, that was only if he was off his meds.
Yeah. I remember you had a ritual too.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this.
Yeah.
So from our house heading towards the fields in Wellington, you on the right side of the street, what is it, a BP or something?
Yes.
It's like a BP with whatever inside. And I always got a Cuban coffee, or I got a coffee from there. Before every game, and I hit 560 that season.
Right. So the superstition came in.
Yeah, no, the superstition worked out wonderfully.
Yes, it did. That was one of our best seasons.
Yeah, weren't we the Indians that year?
We were the Indians that year.
Yeah, we had a really good
team. We came
team.
in second place in the All-Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, it's always getting back to the nepotism. And I feel as a coach, I didn't do that. I mean...
No.
I feel because I give you a good example. I mean, it was Kiernan's team, and Paul Everett was probably the best player at that age group in the league.
Yeah, and on the podcast with all four of us, Kiernan said that Paul Everett was the best baseball player he's seen. Yeah.
Definitely that around that time. Yes.
Yeah, around that age probably.
Yeah, and I remember we were playing against a team that was supposed to spank us, and I had two pitchers. We had a lefty that threw off speed, and Paul Everett, which threw the bullet. So we have Kiernan in left field because on Paul Everett, nobody was coming around on him, and they were all right-hand batters, Yeah. So Kiernan was safe out there. So probably after around the fourth inning, we bring, the closer in, relief or whatever. We only had two pitchers. So I think his name was Francisco, I believe. He was a good lefty, had good control, a lot of movement, but he threw a lot slower than Paul Everett. So he got in, the first round. They were thrown off, but by the time they faced him twice, they waited on him, and they have a runner on second, and there's 2 outs. Actually, they had a runner on second and third with 2 outs, and we were up by one run. And I don't know the exact score, but they hit this ball. It was the last inning, so either they would have beat us or we got the out, we would have won. So the ball gets hit. Tony and I, which was my coach at that time, we looked at each other and we said, "Oh shit, we forgot to change the outfield." The ball goes straight out the Kiernan, and I wanted him to catch it, not so much because of the game, because after that, a game, you forget all about a game, but he would have felt, that's the position where you're a hero, or a zero,
make or break you.
Exactly. So I just wanted him to catch it for him. And the ball's going out, and it's at night. We see the lights, and we see it. He catches the ball. It's the third out. I mean, this thing was like almost to the warning track. So he caught it. So he basically won the game. That's where the team all took him and threw him on my shoulders. So that's where Kiernan was saying he was hoping the ball was going to Paul Everett.
Yeah. So what are some of the other best memories you've seen from the rest of the three of us?
Well, with you, there's always that time when you took care of the bully and the...
Braden loves the Amadeus story.
Yeah, that was a good one. But as far as playing ability, I liked... I'm trying to think. You had a couple there, but there was one particular one. We were in Wellington. It was All-Stars. You had a fever and everything. You played the best I ever saw you play.
I don't even remember this.
Oh, you were sicker than a dog. This lady was sitting behind your mom in the stands, and she said, because you were small at that time.
Oh yeah, I was. And just for reference for those of you listening, my freshman year of high school, I was 5'5", 100 pounds. Yeah. I was not a big kid at all.
No, but you could make contact, you could hit, you could catch. So the lady was saying, didn't know that, the lady sitting in front of them was their mother out there. So they were saying, he can hit. And then when you got on the field, he can catch too. He can play. So that was a great moment. And then Ryan, that's going back 22 years ago. He had one. He was actually playing for another coach, and they were playing against, I think, it wasn't Green Acres, but it was a playoff game, and the coach took Ryan. Ryan was on the bench and brought him in as a pinch hitter, and Ryan, ripped one down third baseline, and which led in some runs, and that was a great moment there. And then Braden, on his birthday in college, he had a couple, in college, he hit a grand slam home run.
Yeah, on his birthday.
Yeah. Which I tore my pants going over the fence to get the ball.
Yeah, I think he said when he was running the bases, he saw you hopping the fence.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been definitely, I miss it, but now we're, like you and I the other day, we went to the fields with Miles and,
Yeah, we got to do it all over again.
Yeah. And Braden wants to come over and catch some games. And, it's just all the interesting people that you meet,
Yeah. And like with Miles, it's fun. Like, one time I took him out to give him a hitting lesson and we stopped by Chick-fil-A on the way home and we're waiting on our food and he's just there practicing his swing.
Oh yeah. Well, I can remember all you doing that early in the morning, go out back and be hitting off the tee into the net.
Yeah. I remember when I was in high school, we built that wooden frame with the net in the backyard.
Right.
And then I'd do that before I went to school in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all had good work ethics. I mean, that was...
Yeah, and I feel like for us especially, and like I was talking with someone about that on a job interview one time, they were asking about like some of my extracurriculars, and I was like, yeah, I played baseball in high school and everything, and they're like, really? Because my athletes have always been my best employees.
That's true. Well, it all goes together.
And obviously you taught us a lot of the work ethic, and I feel like putting kids in sports is a good way to reinforce that too.
Yes.
Especially in a team sport, because you got to hold yourself accountable for, the collective group.
Right. So, and then we, did a little travel there where, I actually learned a lot from Juan Bustabob. I became
Boosty's going to come on too.
Yeah. So to me, that was, as far as coaches out there, couldn't have been under a better coach.
Yeah, pro ball.
Pro ball and, just the learning, just the mechanics of it. And,
yeah, didn't you say he got drafted in like the same round as Roger Clemens?
Same year, yes.
Yeah, same year.
Yeah. He was a first round draft.
Yeah, it was a first rounder.
Yeah. So, just trying to think. Made a lot of friends, through the years, and every now and then I'll be out. Like we were, maybe at the Key Lime house, and this guy comes over. Hey, coach, how you doing? It was Sean Cuddy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, well, I didn't recognize, because, we're talking about 10 years ago. So,
yeah, like even in Ryan's case with one of the guys he played with, Scott Delaney, they're still friends. They're still working together.
Yeah.
And all that.
Yeah. So,
no, it's made a lot of lifelong connections for all of us.
It was definitely, I was close to all four of you boys, at different times. And,
yeah, and he always took us out to hit. We always had weights in the garage to use too and everything.
Yeah, we did. Did a little conditioning, and then I remember when I first started. Ryan, for some reason he kept backing out of the box. So I said, "You got a helmet, right?" So I beamed him right in the head in the helmet, and I said, "Did that hurt?" He said, "Not really." I said, "What are you worried about?"
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's always that. Every kid when they first started playing baseball has to get over the fear of the ball hitting you, because once it does, you'll realize it doesn't hurt that much.
He had an incident one time. He was doing a private, batting lesson with Boosty over there off of Hypoluxo, or softball fields now, but they used to have cages there. And he hit a ball and it hit the iron post, that holds the nets up, and that thing bounced right back, hit him square in the face.
Oh.
I know it hurt. So Boosty looked that one over and said, basically it's like a horse. You got, you don't have to go to the hospital. So let's get back in, and then it did. He got back in there and started throwing, pitches at him. But it wasn't a pitch that hit him. It was when he hit the ball. It ricocheted right back off the pole, right into his face.
Yeah, that'll happen. Can't be afraid to get hit.
Yeah, talking about that. Then I remember Braden one time out in Wellington. We had Braden was a strong bat.
Yeah, no, Braden could always hit.
Yeah, so this one coach of mine said, I said, you should, I think his name was Larry, if I remember right. I said, Larry, I would recommend using the L screen. He said, no. He said, these are kids. Man, Braden hit a line drive, hit him on the side of the head. And he was on the ground. His legs, he was like a fish.
Oh my God.
So we thought, oh my God, everybody rushed over. He had a big, but he wound up being okay, but it was like,
yeah. I always use the L screen.
Yeah, definitely. Doesn't matter if it's who it is,
Yeah, and I remember we did a little travel ball when I was younger we were the Palm Beach Knights.
Yes.
Yeah, we did that for a little. That was fun.
Yeah, that was, we took that team out of Wellington. We put the team together.
I remember we moved to we were at some Lake Worth fields for a while.
Yeah,
and we were at Phipps Park for a while with my coach Alex.
Yeah.
And actually, when I was coaching this past year, I was hitting IO before one of our games, and Coach Alex walks out on the field, and he's coaching for Forest Hill. So I ran into him while I was coaching for Santa Lucia's before one of our games playing each other.
Yeah, because Coach Alex and I coached together, and
Yeah.
he was a great guy.
Yeah, I always remember him yelling at kids to see if they wanted to sit the bench. It was always Paul. Paul was always getting yelled at by Coach Alex.
I remember, yeah, Paul. Yeah. And there was no nepotism there.
Yeah, his son played on the team. He would be the first one to bench him.
And I'll tell you what, pretty much a good coach, you don't see that in them. You know, it's always and that's what I always was worried about it. You know, since I wasn't a coach, I figure, you know, I didn't know coaching, but that was far from the truth. You know, it was just understanding people and learn, you know, it's like anything. You learn the material, you know.
So what'd you learn from all that coaching and having all of us play?
I learned that it's discipline. I mean, you know, it's like because there's always somebody that's trying to take your spot, you know, and you got to fight for your spot, which that's what I think is great about it. You know, I mean, you can carry on a roster as many as you want, but you're only going to play 9 at a time. So there's always somebody that's.
Yeah, there's like Ryan's freshman year of high school, there was like 110 kids or something.
Yeah.
Then you narrow it down to like 14 to a team.
Right.
For like maybe a little more on varsity, but then like 14 on JV, and then 9 play every day.
I mean, in football, you had to carry a couple strings there because somebody.
Someone's bound to get hurt.
Somebody's always getting hurt.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's were you guys surprised that I did coach or?
For me, it was like,
you're already.
For me, it was the norm at the time.
Right.
Because you were already doing it with all the other brothers.
Right. Yeah. Ryan was the
guinea pig.
The guinea pig, the experimental one.
Yeah. I think. I actually
but he was actually coaching too. He was coaching through me.
Yeah, I had one guy on, Charlie Williamson, and he played a little minor league ball at the Diamondbacks, and he said when he was in high school, he had to kind of coach his coaches and his pitching staff.
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a hard game to manage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially in rec ball, and even our travel team we had. I mean, we weren't going to. I always liked a small roster because I wanted everybody to play. You know, it's like I didn't want to carry so many people. I got a funny story. This was when it was pro ball when Ryan's team, they were 8th graders going into into high school. Mm-hmm. So Santa Lucia's had a tournament there.
Oh, was it like for Legion ball or something?
It was.
Yeah, because they always have tournaments out of there.
It was a tournament, and we were basically playing up. And the funny thing was when they played against kids their age group, they had a hard time. But anytime they played against a team that was older than them, better than them, they would fight better. Yeah. I don't know what it was. So I can remember that night. They wound up playing against senior teams. I mean, there was some big names on there. I mean, half of them were hungover, but they wound up losing 2-1. And we figured out what it was. These guys are used to seeing some heat coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
And here's our 8th graders here throwing meatballs. So these meatballs would come down. These guys wouldn't wait on it. They'd swing out in front of it. And, so they weren't making much contact. And if they did make contact, it was kind of infield or pop-ups.
Yeah.
So, and when we were up to bat, the heat would come in and they would at least make contact. And the ball would just almost like a nice bunt. So it threw them off. So it's, so it was just funny when, you would think you go in playing an older team like that, you'd be slammed, 100-0, but it was 2-1 by the end of the night. And I can remember Boosty was doing everything that I think we actually won, but I think the umpire, called call there, but you could never blame it. The way they played was great anyway,
Yeah.
And there's one funny story that we were the Stingrays at the time, which we couldn't really win a game, but we could stay, right there. We would beat ourselves. So one night we were playing, and this was the night that we actually won. So remember the movie The Titans?
Yeah.
Was it Denzel Washington was in it?
Yeah, I think so.
So there's where he goes, and his coach gets the team over there and says, let's let them remember the night they played the Titans. So I took the team over there. We got into a huddle, and I used that same line. It says, let's let this team remember when they played the Stingrays.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, we wound up winning.
Yeah. So one thing I was curious about, so Ryan was a big Yankees fan growing up. Kieran was a Marlins fan. What was that like in 2003 when they were playing each other on the World Series?
I was home with them two alone.
Oh my God.
That was they didn't say a word to each other. They both went, Ryan went to his room, Kieran didn't say anything, but you could cut the tension in the air with a knife.
Yeah, because I think they ended up going 7 games that series too.
Yeah,
I'll look that up real quick because I remember Josh Beckett.
He's the one that did the last out at the.
Yeah, he threw a complete game against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, he tagged the.
Yeah, he tagged Jorge Posada.
Right.
Yeah, that was. I think that was 7 games. Games. Because I remember.
There was one that Kieran should have been a baseball psychic.
Yeah.
We went down this one. The Yankees played the Marlins, down at the old Robbie Stadium. And we took a bus down that night, a party bus with the neighbors. And it was, it started to rain, so they called the game off. So our friends, Wes and Maureen, were sitting there watching the game, and Kieran Sheffield comes up to play or up to bat. And before he came up to bat, Kieran said to Wes, he's going to hit a grand slam. Yeah, right. Whatever. Somehow the bases got loaded. Sheffield comes up. He hits a grand slam. Wes looks at him. He says, take that kid out of here. Because Wes was a Yankee fan.
Yeah. And I remember the story. He wouldn't shake Vladimir Guerrero's hand.
Oh, yeah. Felipe Lou was one of my customers. So, so we'd go up to spring training up there, Roger Dean. So we get to go in the clubhouse, or not the clubhouse, but the locker room. And Guerrero comes up and goes to shake Kieran's hand. Kieran, nope. Nothing to do with him.
Yeah, now the guy's a Hall of Famer, and his son's one of the best hitters in the league. Yeah. Way to go, Kieran.
Yeah. So, that was funny. So, just you never know who you're going to meet in the business.
Yeah, and the Lou brothers were in baseball for a while.
Yeah, because your mom and I went to Philippe's house one night, and because your mom did pencil drawings, ink, some type of drawing with like a pen and ink or something. Yeah. And there was a picture of the 3 brothers in the outfield that somebody had done, very nice painting. It was in their hallway or a staircase.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So now I can remember, being there, and Philippe, I just did some work on the boat, and he was asking me how the depth sounder works, and this lady comes up for an autograph. He says, lady, you got to wait. But through Boosty, we'd go up and do, tournaments up there in Dodgertown. And,
oh yeah, I remember going to Dodgertown a lot as a kid.
Yeah,
you stayed in like those little barracks they had.
Yeah, basically they were the barracks, and I tried to. There was what was his name? He was with the Yankees. Not Soriano, but I can't remember his name. But we sat and had wine with him one night. And Boosty and his wife. He was helping Boosty out.
Yeah, and I remember on another trip to Cooperstown, Braden hit the home run that no one was there to see.
Yeah, Kieran and I and Uncle Greg, only Cooperstown. It's pouring. It's raining like hell. I mean, it's raining. I mean, you look out the window, you couldn't see the neighbor's house across the way. So I figured this game's called off. So we take Kiernan and Greg, we call up this guide, a fishing guide, which we caught a lot of fish there, you know. So we went fishing. I get a phone call from one of the coaches. Where are you? I said, well, I'm out here. Well, I'm fishing. He says, Braden just hit a home run. So, which at least I made up for it in this college year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, are there any other stories that you want to share?
I really can't. Nothing really pops out right now. I mean, there's so many. We're talking about a 22-year.
Yeah, I mean, ball fields every night.
Every night, every single night, literally, you know.
Yeah,
because all four of you be playing, and there was times where you felt burnt out, but you know what? I would do it again.
Yeah,
I kept.
We all really appreciated it.
Yeah,
because I remember even times were tough. We still got to play baseball.
We always
meant a lot to all of us.
Always did. I always loved going out there doing BP and at the fungo hitting you guys balls.
Yeah.
So, any questions you have or?
I mean, not that I can think of. I mean, we kind of jumped through a lot of like our family history with baseball.
Yeah.
And it's fun getting to experience it with Miles.
Yeah. Actually, there's a little baseball history on my mother's side, you know, back in Cuba. You know, there was a Pedro Esquivel, which he was a pitcher in the Cuban League. And he came up for one season, but he didn't like it up here in the States. So he went back. So. But that's pretty much all I know. There is a book out there where somebody told me the Havana players.
Yeah, in the Cuban League, a lot of them end up coming to play over here.
Yeah.
They're good ball players.
But this is going back in the 30s. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, I think that's we covered about just about everything.
Yeah, but looking forward to your future adventures.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I've really been enjoying doing this.
Well, thanks for having me aboard.
Well, thanks for coming on, Dad.
Okay.
I love you.
Love you too. Thanks.